The next film we'll be talking about is Dogma, which is a 1999 American comedy film written and directed by, I'm going to say Kevin Smith, who also stars in the film alongside a huge ensemble cast that included Batfleck, Matt Damon, Linda Florentino, God, I am terrible with names, Alan Rickman, Salma Hayek, Chris Rock, Jason Lee, George Carlin, Janine Garofalo, Alanis Morissette, and of course Jason Mewes. Brian O'Halloran and Jeff Anderson, the stars of Smith's previous Clerks films, have cameo roles, as do Smith regulars Scott Mosier, Dwight Elward, Walt Flanagan, and Brian Johnson. So in the fourth film set in the View Askew universe, it's a hypothetical scenario film revolving around the Catholic Church and the Catholic belief, which caused organized protest and much controversy in many countries, delaying the release of the film and leading to at least 2 death threats against Smith himself. The film follows 2 fallen angels, Loki and Bartleby, who, through an alleged loophole in Catholic dogma, find a way to get back into heaven after being cast out by God. However, as existence is founded to the principle that God is infallible, their success would prove God wrong and thus undo all creation. The last scion and 2 prophets are sent by the voice of God to stop them. Aside from some scenes filmed in New Jersey, most of this film was filmed in Pittsburgh. Eddie, we'll start with you. What are your initial thoughts on Dogma?
This is the movie that I try to watch. Around the same time I discovered Mallrats, I try to watch Dogma. And I watch it for 5 minutes and I'd stop, and I watch it for another 5 minutes and I'd stop. I go back to it the next day, watch it for a half hour, and then stop. It's just really stupid. It's just, it does not do it for me. It's a silly slapstick. It's about as serious as American Pie. American Pie is even better. And the one thing I don't like about Kevin Smith, and this goes for all his movies, is the constant Catholic thing hanging around. There's always that. And Dogma is just this constant blah, blah, blah with the Bible and stuff. Nothing against it, I guess, sort of, you know. But it's nauseating. I don't dig it.
Tony, what's your initial thoughts on the movie Dogma?
Dogma and Chasing Amy are the 2 Kevin Smith movies I don't own. But now that I've rewatched Dogma 2 days ago, I actually really like it a lot more than I did in the past, and I'm going to end up picking it up. I have a newfound appreciation for this movie. And I'm going to sound like a total hypocrite here because of my big diatribe the last time around of saying that Chasing Amy was not enough of a Kevin Smith movie and not the same as Clerks and Mallrats and Clerks 2 and whatever. Dogma is the most mainstream out of all of these movies, and I think that it pulls it off really well. If you took Dogma out of the View Askew universe, I would still, now that I've changed my mind about it, I would still just legitimately like this movie. There's downfalls to it, of course. The shit monster is one, but this is a type of movie where if I were in the mood to just, I don't want to say download and officially put myself out there, but yeah, sure, torrent the fuck out of a movie instead of seeing it in the theaters or something like that. If I would have done that and watched this movie, I would have been pleasantly surprised, and I definitely have a newfound respect for the movie.
To give you some facts about Dogma, the movie itself, of course, it was directed and written by Kevin Smith, with music by Howard Shore and cinematography by Robert E. Yeoman. It was produced by Scott Mosier, edited by both Kevin Smith and Scott Mosier, and, of course, distributed by Lionsgate Films, and the production company was View Askew Productions. Solo this time. The release date was November 12th, 1999, and the runtime was 128 minutes. It worked off a budget of about $10 million, and the box office saw it bring in about $30 million. So one of the big things in this movie, obviously, is the Catholicism and all the references and characters and basically the battle with good and evil when it comes to the Bible and such. When it comes to the overall idea and theme of the movie, we guys kind of touch base in your opening opinions of the movie. We'll start with you, Tony. Do you feel that Kevin Smith approached this in kind of a respectful manner if he could have, if there's any way to do that when it comes to Dogma.
One word. Platypus. There's no way to get around the issue that some people are going to be upset about this movie. You can make the simplest, most minuscule religious joke, and if somebody is a militant religious person, they're going to get offended. You can make something that's not even a religious joke, and somebody could get offended because it could just be like, well, my belief structure says something else, and I'm horribly offended that you said something like that, and now I'm up in a tizzy for the rest of my fucking life or something. I don't know. But Smith is a comedian. I mean, he makes funny movies, and no subject is completely shielded from being made fun of in my mind. You shouldn't make fun of some things, and obviously you shouldn't make fun of certain things in certain environments. You know, you can't walk into a cancer ward and start cracking jokes about cancer. But yeah, am I going to laugh at like an AIDS joke every once in a while? Sure, I fucking love that joke. Everyone has AIDS in Team America. And am I going to laugh at the stupid things that happen between straight people and homosexuals and Chasing Amy? Yeah, I'll laugh at that because that happens in real life. Or am I going to laugh that Randall is a stupid idiot and he does dumbass things like orders porn in front of a little kid? Sure, yeah, it's a funny idea. So, I mean, you take on religion in this, and they've got some funny ideas in that. So you're going to piss somebody off no matter what, but there's no way around it. So he did the best job that he possibly could have done by doing that little platypus thing at the beginning of it and just being like, look, don't fucking take this so seriously, goddammit. Can you stop giving me death threats? And can you just sort of laugh at the idea that, like, you know, there's the 13th apostle Rufus and he's eating an Egg McMuffin and shit. Like,
Eddie, what were your thoughts on the overall theme of religion in the movie and how Kevin Smith approached it?
Yeah, I strongly dislike the constant Catholic thing that's going on. Not because I don't like Catholicism in particular. I don't know. Sometimes I think Kevin Smith, on the contrary, he's too light with it. I think he doesn't really make fun of it at all. He's just putting hypothetical characters and Loki and Barney, whatever his name is, Barnaby, Beelzebub, what's his name? Ben Affleck. And,
Bartleby.
There you go.
Beelzebub.
Yeah. Barney. That would have been good, Barney, huh? The dinosaur. Anyhow, I don't see the big deal. I think he approached it fine. I think he did a good job, and it is what it is. And I see no reason whatsoever to feel sensitive about anything that's portrayed.
As always, when we talk about movies here on the Four Reel Movie Club, we talk about the casting. This one is a huge ensemble compared to the last three we talked about, with having Ben Affleck, Matt Damon, and Linda Fiorentino, God, I can't say it, as the three main characters, and then having a supporting cast of Chris Rock, Salma Hayek, Alan Rickman, Jason Lee, Kevin Smith, and Jason Mewes, and of course, the pompous public-seeking cardinal, George Carlin. What were your thoughts on casting, Tony? We'll start with you.
Everybody is great in this movie from start to finish, except for one person, Linda Fiorentino. She could be replaced by anybody, and nobody would be able to tell the difference. And actually, I've been listening to the commentary, I haven't finished it yet, of Dogma, and Kevin Smith points out that she was apparently a huge pain in the ass when they were working on this movie. She refused to talk to Kevin Smith for portions of it, and in retrospect, he was just like, you know what, Janine Garofalo was awesome, and I would have much rather given her the part. And I think she would have done better in the part, too. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of burning a bridge here, but there's got to be a reason why Fiorentino did not become a bigger star, because she had a couple of opportunities where she could have ended up breaking out a little bit. Dogma could have been a breakout role for her. She was in Men in Black. That could have been something that boosted her career. Yet, does anybody know her name? No.
She fell off the face of the earth in like 2000, 2002.
Right, but then you look at the rest of the cast. Matt Damon, huge star. Ben Affleck, huge star. Alan Rickman, huge star. Chris Rock, naturally. Salma Hayek, of course. Even fucking like Jason Lee had a better career going after this movie. Like everybody got these bumps up except for Fiorentino. And if you could replace anybody in this movie, she would be the only one that you could replace, and nobody would give a shit. Everybody else, great.
Eddie, what were your thoughts on the cast?
It's not a movie where I'm particularly worried or gave much thought as to who was great or not. It's a silly movie from beginning to end. So, I mean, movies like that either have great, fantastic performances, or everything is just kind of, yay, funny. It's all about the joke. So I don't know. Everybody does their job, solid. Alan Rickman, he brings a very stern, serious. I think he was my favorite actor in the movie. He brought a really good order to the chaos, if I may say so. In the world where everybody's kind of silly, like Rufus, Jane Silent Bob, and even Loki and Brutus, whatever. Barnaby, yeah, there you go. Even they were kind of silly with the whole we shall smite them because they sinned and they cheated, and let it go, man, who cares, we gotta get there, we gotta get to Jersey. Everything was silly, but I think Alan Rickman was definitely he's the only thing that held it together, and I think it would have fallen apart if they got someone to pull off a silly performance.
When it comes to this movie, it's been thrown around by fans mainly of a potential sequel. So I'm going to read you guys a quote that was issued by Kevin Smith in late November 2005 that was asked on his viewaskew.com message boards. And this was his response to the possible Dogma sequel. Kevin Smith says, and I quote, "So weird you should ask this, because ever since 9/11, I've been thinking about a sequel of sorts. I mean, the worst terrorist attack on American soil was religiously bent. In the wake of a said attack, the leader of the free world outed himself as pretty damn Christian. In the last election, rather than a quagmire war abroad, the big issue was whether or not gay marriage was moral. Back when I made Dogma, I always maintained that another movie about religion wouldn't be forthcoming, as Dogma was the product of 28 years of religious and spiritual meditation, and I kind of shot my wad on the subject. Now, I think I might have more to say, and yes, The Last Scion would be an epicenter of it, and she'd have to be played by Alanis, and we'd need a bigger budget because the entire third act would be an apocalypse. Scary thing is, the film would have to touch on Islam, and unlike Catholic League, when those cats don't like what you do, they issue a death warrant on your ass. And now that I have got a family, I'm not as free to stir the shit pot as I was when I was single back when I made Dogma. I mean, now I've got to think about more than my own safety and well-being. But regardless, yeah, a Dogma follow-up has been swimming around in my head for some time now. The question I asked to you guys, and we'll start with you, Tony, a Dogma sequel, yay, nay, what would be the problem, what would be the benefits? Tony?
Sequels are tough, and if you don't pull off like a Terminator 2 or Godfather 2 or Empire or Dark Knight or something like that, it almost always is a disappointment. And so far he's only made one sequel, and Clerks 2 is good, but not as good as Clerks 1. I like that Clerks 2 is out there. I really, really want to see Clerks 3. So I would give him the benefit of the doubt that he could pull off a Dogma 2, and I would love to see that, and I'd be there opening night. But I don't know if it needs to be done. So if it doesn't happen, well, it's okay. It's not going to be like something that bothers me and something that I'm craving for. But if it does happen, cool. I'll support him 100%.
Eddie, what are your thoughts on a potential Dogma 2?
Eventually I'd watch it. That's it. I have no hope. I have no hope for it being good or anything. I don't know. Sequels randomly work really well. Sometimes they don't. More often than not, they don't. Especially if it's a third part. Otherwise, yeah, that's it.
When it comes to this film, we do talk usually about a little bit about the score and the music. For Dogma, and we'll start with you, Eddie, on this one. How do you feel about the score, soundtrack, all that music tied up into this movie?
Man, the score was, I don't know, it's something you would expect out of a Hollywood production. It's got its dramatic rising, it's got its triumphant end, it's got its mellow moments. And as far as the soundtrack, when it comes to songs playing in the background, I'll be honest, I didn't notice anything at all. And I think it's the movie where Kevin Smith really, I think he really didn't want to focus too much on the soundtrack. There's nothing of note, there's nowhere near as fantastic as Clerks, Mallrats, and Chasing Amy.
Tony, what are your thoughts on the score and soundtrack?
I didn't really pay too much attention to that either, now that you brought that up. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's just it all meshed well in the background, and that's why I didn't pay attention. Is it Howard Shore does the score, I think?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Howard Shore's good. I mean, his best work is The Lord of the Rings, and I'm not the biggest fan of Lord of the Rings, but he knows what he's doing. He's got a great film history behind him, and the score at least works in the movie. I don't remember being off-put by anything like that. The soundtrack and the songs that were added in there sporadically that are normal mainstream songs and stuff, I can't even remember any of them. So either they were good enough that they didn't make that much of an impact, or they weren't good enough to make much of an impact. I don't really know.
Okay, and as always, we're wrapping up here on Dogma and the Four Wheel Movie Club. So I'm going to go to you, Tony, first. What are the high points, low points, and what would you rate this on a 1 to 10?
Low points, if it's not Fiorentino herself, it's got to be the shit demon. That's just, it tones itself down so much, and it's just, I don't, I like a good dick or fart joke or something, but sometimes it's too easy, and that just came off too easy. It's got to be a shit demon that they fight. Like, come on. There's two things that I would probably point out as highlights. One of them is a pretty obvious one. It's Serendipity's scene that everybody's going to love. And spoiler for those who are listening to this on the iTunes or Stitcher version or whatever, clearly that is going to be the thumbnail on the YouTube version. But on a more serious note, probably my high point is when Bartleby turns and Loki has that discussion, you sound like Lucifer, man, and that idea that Ben Affleck's character does the total opposite while Matt Damon's character does total opposite, and the difference between Damon being this murdering psychopath at the beginning of the movie, and then at the end he's this drunken dude who's just kind of like, oh, the muse, man, are those tits real? Like, that's fucking, I love that about that. But that scene is a really good scene for the two of them to just go all out. And oddly enough, this is a weird thing to take away from this movie, but rewatching this makes me more excited for Batfleck. I have no idea why, but there's something about the Bartleby character, maybe that scene alone, I don't know, that's making me think that he's got it down. So, 1 to 10, I'm gonna actually, if you would have asked me last week even, I probably would have given it a 5, and now I'm gonna give it like a 7.5.
Very nice. Eddie, what's your high point, low point, and what would you rate Dogma on a 1 to 10?
Man, this isn't really the kind of movie that I think merits a particular low point, high point focus. I did not like Linda Fiorentino, and maybe she fucked someone to get that part. I don't know. As far as a high point, the Buddy Christ thing kind of took off on 9gag, so I like that. It's part of it's a cult thing now, the Buddy Christ image. I don't know. I'll give it a 4. I don't see any. If it had Jay and Silent Bob are not really great characters when they're portrayed in this slapsticky, goofy world. So, yeah, shit demon and all that. No, I'll give it a 4.
Awesome. When it comes to the films of Kevin Smith, we have run down 4 of his top popular films, so hopefully one day down the line we'll be doing a Kevin Smith Part 2 to talk about 4 of his other greatest films. But that wraps it up here for us here on the For Real Movie Club. So, as usual on all our podcasts here across Mega Powers Radio, we're going to go around the panel and see what everybody's up to. We'll start with you, Mr. Eddie.
Oh, I don't know. I'm going to go to bed soon. No, so basically, I'm putting some finishing touches on some soundtrack stuff I'm working on for Fanboys Anonymous. I'm still writing a novel. Yeah, big surprise. There's something really, really important I was going to say. Like my life depended on it or something, but I can't think of it. But pretty much that's it, yeah.
Okay. Mr. Mango, what do you got going on?
All right, wrestling fans out there, go to smarkoutmoment.com and you can find podcasts and everything through that channel. I won't give you all the links because that'll take forever. And obviously pay attention to everything that's coming your way from fanboysanonymous.com. One thing to mention, we're on the final little bit of time here, but pretty soon we're going to be ending our contest that we're doing on Fanboys right now, where you can win 2 Voltron t-shirts. This might be a regular thing with us, doing different giveaways and different prize contest sort of thingies. So really pay attention to those. You can win different stuff. It's not just always Voltron. We actually have a couple things in the pipeline that we're working on now. So follow the YouTube account that you are either listening to this on, or you can go over to. It's youtube.com/fanboysanonymous. You can follow the Facebook and Twitter accounts and the Tumblr and the Instagram and so on and so forth. Everything else my way. The only other thing that I can really mention is stay tuned for the All Talk show, and you'll get more information for that later on.
Sweet. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at the Dace Man. Check out everything that's going on at fanboysanonymous.com, including a new segment that will be going for this fall season called Must See TV Fall 2014, where I run down some of the best shows that are becoming this fall. Check out Wednesday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern, the Dace Man Show. Huge things coming. Many guests in the future. This week's a regular show because I'll be in Montreal and the French people hate me. Check out oldtimewrestling.net, where you can see wrestling. Yes, September 27th at 7 p.m. I will be going for the Tag Team Championships with my little buddy, Dre the Dragon Drummond. It is our second shot at them, and Mean Streak, your asses are going down. Also, check out next month, the For Real Movie Club will be doing Halloween films, both Halloween 1 and 2 from the 70s and 80s, and Halloween 1 and 2 that was made by Rob Zombie. So, on behalf of myself, Mr. Tony Mango, Mr. Eddie Siqueira, Recycle.
Yeah, for the environment.
Yes. And everybody else on Mega Powers Radio and Fanboys Anonymous, we thank you for listening to us talk about Kevin Smith here on the For Real Movie Club. All you guys, keep on watching films.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
I'm too old for this.
Good day, sir!
You stay classy, San Diego.
Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads. Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. I'm finished. That'll do, Pete. That'll do. Hasta la vista, baby.
Hey, everybody! We're all gonna get late!
You're still here? It's over. Go home.